Happy New Year to everybody and welcome to this first episode of Crossing the Pond 2026. Our first episode, ironically enough, will be a look back at all of our guests from 2025, highlighting the stories, the experiences and all the lessons learned along everybody's individual journey. First clip is myself, highlighting the opportunities and encouragement that I've received since being in the US and what it has done for me personally, and I'll check back in periodically during the episode to highlight some of the next upcoming clips. Thanks so much for listening as always, and I hope you enjoy. Cheers.
Like, that doesn't happen if I stay in Wigan, and that's not disrespectful to Wigan, but it's just being over here and being in the moving in the circles that we move in. Yeah, just meet so many people that are just connected and can help and are willing to help you. Like, if you're nice and you can relate a little bit, people want to help you. Yeah, and people want to see you do well, and it's just something that I could never do if I was at home.
Feels like an absolute age ago. Next clip up is Jim Whelan, Myra Gorosabel, husband and wife who moved here from England via Ecuador along the way, giving their first impressions of what it was like when they first got here the first week in the US. What crazy things about America did you notice early on?
Honestly, I was like, what the f*** have we walked into? Like, it was the first month we were here, your sister and brother-in-law came down. And in the first month, it was tragic, some of the stuff that was happening. There was a kid at Alex's school who died. Do you remember that? In one of like the K1, K2 class, just like fell asleep there in a siesta and never woke up.
Oof. Oh,
there was the shooting in the mall, in the food court. This is in our first month. And then there was another day, all in this first month, was at the World Trade Center, Path Station. And I thought there'd been a terrorist attack. So I had my headphones in, and then suddenly everyone started running in one direction. And basically someone had fallen on the track. And all these people went down, lifted this person up. They're all like, run out to the train. This was like 3 things in the first month. And I was like, what?
The amount of comments I got off that one on social media about like people complaining about England's just as rough as America and everything else. It was bonkers. Like, just shows you. That reel took off, thousands and thousands of views, and then all the silly comments that went with it. But it's a good one. Next up, I love a story about a celebrity or a footballer encounter. So I was lucky enough to get Dylan Kerr, Kevin Grogan, and a good friend Chris Morgan on this year as well to talk about their experiences, amongst other things, but in particular for these clips, experiences about meeting or coming across celebrities along the travels. So enjoy.
Eric Cantona, he came from Sheffield Wednesday. He wouldn't go on trial at Sheffield Wednesday, but he came to Leeds. We played Blackburn Rovers at the old Ewood Park, and I'm sure it was like February. And in February
in Blackburn,
it's absolutely Baltic. It was freezing, and it was cold this night. And Eric's playing, and after about 20 minutes, Mick Hennigan's on the sideline with his mouth open like that, and you can just see Eric walking off the pitch. Reserve game. Walking off the pitch, goes down the tunnel, never comes back. He'd gone home. Too cold for him. And basically he's on trial.
And the boss, Sir Alex Ferguson, had brought me up to his office and kind of said, listen, you did really, really well. A lot of good reports. Keep working hard, and we think there's a great chance that you'll get signed. I remember I've told the story before, but walking into the office and he kind of asked who I supported, and I was a Liverpool supporter back then because that's kind of who everyone supported in Ireland because they were the best team, like kind of growing up. And he just went underneath his desk and pulled out a machete knife and held it in the air and said, who do you support now? And I said, Man United. So obviously he was joking, but it was pretty intimidating, and I literally supported him ever since.
I remember the first time I went down there, I didn't know anybody. I did not know anybody, and I'd been away from the UK so long, I didn't know who Gethin was. And we were sat down there, we were like getting changed at the side of the pitch, and everyone's like, oh, this is Morgs, and what do you do and everything. And Gethin's like, oh, what do you do, Morgs? And I'm like, I'm a printer, run a couple of publishing shops. So, what do you do, Gethin? One of the biggest TV celebrities in the UK.
Yeah, like a biggest personality.
I don't think anyone's ever asked him that before, knowingly. And he was like, oh, I'm a television presenter. I was like, oh, nice one. So we get playing and everything. I wasn't playing the first game, and Bob's looking at the pitch, and he's like, da-da-da. So I said, Bob, and he's like, so Morgs. I said, so what does Adam do? He goes, what? I said, Adam, that there, what does he do for a living? Porn star, Morgs. Right, porn star.
Yeah.
Is he serious? You do the little Google and stuff on the sideline, like,
Morgs, can we just get this out there now? You knew exactly who he was.
I didn't. I swear I didn't. I didn't know who he was. And this is not a real. It's not his adult name.
Yeah, one of the most famous porn stars
in the business.
I knew Brazzers. I know who Brazzers are, but I never know who he was. And
Yeah.
I've educated myself a little bit since then.
When I was at Wednesday as an apprentice, Notts Forest played, and there were a little cubbyhole that you could sneak into, and the gaff used to send you down there to listen to the team talks. But I was in charge of the tea, and obviously making tea, and some of the guys would pee in the tea, and I put the teapot in the dressing room, and Brian Clough came out just as he's going out for the second half. Young man, that was a very, very, very nice cup of tea. You're doing very, very well. And I'm like, really?
Someone's had a good slash in it.
That one about Chris not knowing who the porn star was, it gets me every single time. Never not going to laugh at him or that comment. Next up, this one was more about growing up, origins, bouncing back, and just finding a level of confidence that helps you succeed. We had Elvia Prazovic, we had Tanya Bentley, and we had Vinny Valenti as well, also known as Vincent the Owl.
So what was it like in Sarajevo as a youngster before you moved?
Well, life was a little bit different, right? Because obviously we were still living through the communist era, right?
Yeah.
All the leftovers of it the last couple of years, right? So I was born in 84 when the Olympics were in Sarajevo, the Winter Olympics. So sports is kind of like a big deal now. Born in 84, obviously we're living through communism / difficult times where everything you have is enough, but is never enough.
Right.
Right? Things kind of fall apart politically. Things kind of fall apart for the country. You start to struggle really quick as a family. And then, of course, in 92, the war starts, right? So everything falls apart. Yugoslavia falls apart, becomes 13 different countries, war because of religion, war because of politics, war because of necessity, war because of everything else. And so life was always difficult, but it was always comfortable enough. But it was always comfortable enough because you're living in a neighborhood where everybody's taking care of each other.
Right.
Right. Your mom's going to work, somebody's babysitting the whole neighborhood. Your dad's at work, somebody else is taking care of, any repairs in the house. If it's not a family member, it's somebody else. So that's how you kind of grew up. Everybody kind of took care of each other, and then everybody had enough, but never more than what they should, right? So that's kind of like a little bit of the memory of the first 7-8 years of my life.
So you can either wallow in the weight of that, which you're certainly entitled to do. I did, initially, I think that first deep fall to rock bottom is something that is almost necessary to go through. But you can fight for the only life that you have, right? And make it a good story. Have there be a good outcome to what you're going through. I'll never forget when I was at Kessler. I was in the same ward with a whole bunch of other spinal injury patients. And I met a young man around my age, early 30s, and he had endured a terrible surfing accident, and he was paralyzed from the neck down, and he was using an electric wheelchair that he was powering with his mouth. And every day the nurses and the aides would wheel us out to the quad, to the terrace, to get some sunshine and kind of have our lunch out there. And I just remember just being in tears for him and saying, I'm just so devastated for what's happened to you. You're so young. I'm just so sorry. And he kind of turned to me one day and he said, don't be sorry. I still have my mind. I'm still the same person I was prior. I, still an individual. And while I may have lost the physical ability that I once had, there's still a life to live. And I think, you can fight for that life, or you can give in to the illness and kind of, again, just give up. But that just wasn't an option for me.
Well, my whole thing was I wasn't Vincent Diao earlier. I was another name. It was Verbal Phantom, which is very underground and whatever, corny. It was just the guy that raps. He's a ghost. He raps, he's a ghost, and that's it. He doesn't want to be seen, doesn't want to be this and that. I just always wanted to be a recording artist.
But that kind of goes against what you said, though.
Exactly.
Like, be the guy on the stage, act like you've been there before, show the confidence.
I don't know. I'm just a walking contradiction my whole life. I never thought anything was cool. It's just I realized that if I was very comfortable on stage, it'd be hard if I wasn't, if I didn't have to always perform. That was just a name I picked. I'm not even quite sure. So long ago. I rebranded in 2014 to Vincent Diao. But yeah, the whole Verbal Phantom shit was just lyrical, and I'm just this little white boy that raps.
They were great. Next up, it's always nice. I get a little bit of a fanboy head on me here, but I was lucky enough to get a couple of professional athletes on this year as well. Sabrina Flores, Women's Super League champion for Gotham City FC, recently retired. And also Emmett Brennan, unbeaten boxer out of Dublin. This episode, or his clip, comes from after a recent performance and victory in Madison Square Garden.
That made me realise that alcohol provides nothing to my life, because every opportunity I've ever had where I've been drinking, nothing good has come of it. And it took me to it took me to come to New York and really wreck any opportunity I had to go professional through alcohol and out acting the bollocks every weekend. So it took me to do that to realise that alcohol doesn't save me anymore. Even though your mother's face when she seen me, I knew she wasn't happy, and that was the point. That was the point where I knew, right, we fucked up. Let's get things back on the straight and narrow. And a week later, I came back to Dublin, and I came back with the mindset that one, I was going to give up alcohol, but I was going to give up alcohol and become a professional boxer, get me pro license, try get me career back on track, and just give her a go and see how far I can go in the sport. And look, I suppose 3 years later now, age 33, I fought in the Tree Arena in Dublin twice. I've just fought in Madison Square Garden. I'm 6-0. I won the Celtic title twice. The weekend, that fight should have been for the Irish title, but it wasn't. I'm in a great place, and the future is bright. And that would never have happened if I was still drinking alcohol.
I think that like 100% contributed to my long-term success and just my general journey of soccer, just by living and breathing Jersey air. I think the environment itself shaped both me and my sister. And I say us a lot because that was our whole childhood together. But yeah, I always used to brag about being from Jersey because I just thought that there was a lot more soccer opportunities and competitive like edge in Jersey. I feel like the Jersey grind just hits different. I feel like people are a little bit more ruthless grinders, workhorses, and yeah, I think it just breeds like a soccer hotbed.
Next up was one of the things that I think a lot of us always reflect on, and it's our own mental health and how we deal with it, and recognizing just what happened during those times. Maybe things that we didn't notice at the beginning, but then all of a sudden as we look back and we reflect, we see it for what it is. So these next clips, we have Joe Quigley, we have Madison Gilmore, a young up-and-coming film producer, music producer, currently at Tisch School in New York at NYU, and another friend, Daniel Wagstaff, who's recently moved back to the UK, but gives a lot of insight into his moves to Mexico, over to the US, and now obviously back into the UK where he is. So I hope you enjoy these three.
That sort of January 2016 to the end of July was just like 7 days a week. Even when I was off, I felt like I wasn't off. And it got to the point where I was overwhelmed, but I never communicated that to anybody. Never said to any of the other coaches or the parents or even to Kelly, like, I'm struggling here. Like,
why do you think that is?
I wanted to make sure that I didn't fail. I guess I wanted to show that I was good enough to do it. And I was like, I don't want to let these guys down. You know, that they brought me out here in the first place. They changed my life. They really did. Like, I would go that far as to say when I was 21, they gave me an opportunity to come out for 9 months, and it did literally change my life. And I didn't want to let them down either. But yeah, I was just, because I'm a bit of a people pleaser, I was more so at the time, like I wanted to make sure that everybody was happy. But the one person I neglected was myself.
How's your experience with your own mental health influenced how you approach your art or your work?
Yeah, I feel like now my mental health is in a very great place. Freshman year of college, it was kind of crazy because I was adjusting again and it was just a whole lot going on. But now I am in a place where I know I have to give myself grace. A lot of people call me a perfectionist. So I know I have to give myself grace. I know I have to take these off and just rest, give myself a mental break from things because I can't be Superwoman all the time. I feel like now I sort of know what I can take. As last year and prior years, I was just consuming so much that I didn't know how to let it out, or I just wasn't in the right space. And I've always tried to fix mental health for me and get on the right track, but I feel like I'm doing pretty well right now.
Do you ever feel like the stuff that you went through, the adversity, made you more creative? Or I suppose, or maybe the time spent on your own, a little bit more independent, got your mind working a little bit more, that enhances that creativity? Or maybe did it just make you hungrier to be seen and heard?
I feel like every artist uses a little bit of their life in their art, and that's exactly what I do. A lot of the films that I make and a lot of stories that I tell is usually my stories, but I just tell it in a way that people would never guess.
Now what I've found is when I go back, and because I've been open about everything, and I post things, and I really don't care, and people say, "Oh, just be careful about what you post and what you do," and I'm like, really, I don't care. And I'll go to a club or I'll go to a pub, and just people will come over to me and go, "Can I speak to you? I'm really going through a bad time." I'm like, "You're on social media and you always seem happy." No, I'm thinking of doing this. I don't feel happy, but you told me that if anybody's struggling, come and see me. It's like, yeah, just call me up anytime. People, I'm not just saying it, but people actually do reach out to you and go, "I'm really struggling. Can you help me?" Just by being open, by being honest about what it is. I always seem very positive, but I've also been through the worst of things. So I think by people actually just being a little bit more open and saying, "I'm not okay," it's not vulnerable. By no means is anybody going to say, "Well, you're a wimp." People are actually going to help you, but it's that courage to say, "I'm struggling."
It's tough to have the background that I've had with football and coaching to not get into these conversations with the following people. So these clips coming up, just about identifying and working with youth and demands that are put onto players and students as you're going through your work. And I think Kieran O'Boyle, Declan Duffin, Teddy Edwards, Stu Flaherty give a really good account of what it takes and what it has taken for them to be successful in their line of work.
So there's definitely bits from every coach I've ever had that I'm like, oh, I like that, or that really connected with me in terms of like what made sense. I've always thought though, like if you can connect with the kid, you can get your point across a lot better too. So I've like always, I think, yeah, to me, sometimes people are like too bothered about trying to be like pep with a group of like 8-year-olds, and it's like tactics, formations, all that. And it's like connect with the kids, give them the fundamentals, because you might think that kid's like a right winger, and then they might have another coach who's like they're a left back, and it's just like you don't need to get like too into like the
specifics.
Yeah, like you want to make them well-rounded players, basically. And honestly, that's a bit like what Rene was like. We have Jesse Lingard playing centre back, and he was like 4'6" or something. You know, it was like we're getting battered, and I was like, why am I letting 6 goals in? Because he's the centre back. Just try to like have a rounded player, sort of thing.
Yeah, very much. I wanted to capture the family counselling piece. A lot of therapists, when they're working with kids, don't want to work with parents. They don't want to do the family piece. They don't want to do the systems piece, like the family system. And I love all that. And then the people I hire, I make sure they're comfortable with that as well, because that's some of the tough work. You're sometimes having, kind of come to Jesus conversations with parents about home life, family structure, the what impact the marriage is having on the kids. They're tough conversations. But how do you help a kid if you're putting them back into a broken system?
I would say egos can get like misconstrued though. Like I might come across as like an arrogant person at times, but I believe in what I'm doing and I do things with conviction. I didn't have that going through education. I did everything off my own back. Now I have people that I can bounce ideas off, like thankfully. When I look at it now, I agree there's probably people that don't want to give that knowledge away or help because they don't want to be better than them. But I also think, I'm not getting too psychologically deep here, but I think it might come from like insecurity. They might have a good role or lots of experience, but they're maybe unsure if that is good enough for what that person's needing help with.
Weak leadership. I believe we are the worst generation of mentors and coaches who believe myths with no evidence and teach kids that they're less than through a disingenuous lens designed to self-promote. And I believe kids believe it. And I think if we really wanted to dig into it, it is absolutely related to their self-perception and heightened anxiety because they're constantly told they're less than. He's an example. I don't know the exact numbers, but I did at one point, and if you Google them, there was about 8 teenagers in the squads combined of the 1990 World Cup. Maybe less, Gary. There was about 50 in the last one. So where were all these mentally superior, far tougher, far more cut out for competitive sports teenagers in 1990? They didn't exist, Gary. There was a South Carolina basketball coach talking about his team getting beat. And he's saying, like, they use Bumble and Tinder so they're not committed to relationships, so they're not committed to projects. They play video games and they reset so they're not, like, tuned into comeback. And everyone's nodding. And not one said, all right, so that team that just dropped you by 40, when were they born? Because about 1,000 times I've heard someone say, it's hard to coach this generation of kids because they're weak. Their insert excuse here. And not once have I ever heard, Gary, it's easy to win because this generation of kids is weak, or insert excuse here. Every single week, I'm against emotional, fragile opposition who aren't as tough as I was when I was a kid, and they're all soft, so I should win. Why does no one ever say that, Gary? Why is it always a justification for losing? It's because you can't coach this generation of kids, and it's because you can't figure it out. I saw someone last week, and they're saying, well, I remember when I used to have to read the back of a cereal box, and now these kids have got iPhones and they're soft. So, like, you're acting like you're raw dog in life. You tell them that you sit and read the back of a cornflake box because you were bored, but you wouldn't have picked an iPhone up? Like, shut up, man. How has this become so accepted? Look at the Uruguay documentary on Netflix. It's called Becoming Champions. There's like 10 documentaries on teams that have won the World Cup and their national culture. And Uruguay will say winning and losing matters, and results are a reflection of reality. And if you want to improve your results, then you have to change your behaviours and apply them for long enough to see a change. What does America say? You're not allowed to win and lose. Mental health. Have you ever compared the teenage anxiety rates in USA and Uruguay? It's a lot higher in the USA. Teenage depression, a lot higher in the USA. Teenage suicide rates, a lot higher in the USA. All the medication and expert counselling in the USA and Uruguay, and not one person thinking, maybe we're not approaching this in the right way.
Think on the back of the mental health challenges that people have faced, and we all do. These next couple of clips more look towards actual change and then planning, moving forward and looking what's going on, and also starting again. We've got a number of people this year who've definitely either just recently done it or made big moves after some high-profile jobs. Greg Patterson, he was the head of education for the Scottish FA, recently moved to California. We've got Zach Rodriguez, former military naval aviator, is looking to branch out into career in financial planning. Vasily Urenkov, which was a great pickup for me, someone who I had no knowledge of beforehand, but was put in touch by mutual connection. Great insight into planning and what it's like to move to a different country and his role in helping people do that. And then it's always nice to have a Scouser on. Diana Ormrod, talking about her moves in the antiques market and living in St. Thomas and what it's like to live in the Caribbean. And then the last one of this group, Yolanda Rashima, a recent guest who herself has had from St. Vincent and the Grenadines over to England, France, back, and now she lives in California with her husband and child. Just talking about starting again and what she does to help people along with helping herself. But yeah, a lot about planning, strategy, change, starting again in this group of clips. So I hope you enjoy. But what advice do you give people coming in now to build a sustainable career in coaching?
It's back to the things I said earlier, but just to pick up on your point there, do you not need those speed bumps along the way? I think people get a little bit derailed, don't they? You've said it happens to you, Gary. Brilliant. I think you need them. I think you need the speed bumps. You know, you hear pro players saying it. I know you're talking about coaching, but you hear pro players, I'll come back stronger after this injury. Yeah, I think it's those, you need the speed bumps along the way. You need don't flatten out the speed bumps. You're going to get them. You know, that hard work, that endeavour, open-mindedness, that'll get you over the speed bump or it'll find you a way, but you need to encounter them.
My coworker a couple of years ago, his father passed away, had a lot of money, was a radiologist, and what he really took away when he came back from the funeral and processing his father's death was this man, putting money or putting dreams and saving them for later is awesome. However, there's definitely a point to where it's like you're putting too much stock into your retirement dream or whatever it is in the future and not enough in the present. But I feel so passionately that you can live well now and plan wisely for later. Or just we have also all known a person who basically doesn't have a lot of money now. I know that there's a way you can prioritize your time and your health now and also plan wisely for the future, financially or otherwise.
I think some of the best success stories, without naming the names, would be, I have a few key clients who, after talking to me, doing the ranking, even making a trip to have a look again, test drive, so to say, particular cities, they decided to not move, to stay. Oh wow!
I
Is
find-
that
I
is that
find
a
that this
common
is-
thing? Do you think? Is it just they want the information and they say, you know what, the grass isn't greener?
The grass isn't greener. Yeah, sometimes, because that's the thing. That's why I don't help with the documents or sell the passports. I don't care if you move or not. My main point is that you make your decision what's better for you. And some people, and I very much I believe that this is the sort of KPI for success of my business, that some people choose not to move because they figure out that where they are, the compromises are less than if they start moving. I find this it's amazing. I had a very lovely young couple who came to me. They were just curious. They were thinking maybe we just should travel and abroad just to see the world a bit. And the city that they were from ended up being number one and quite ahead of everything else. They were laughing. I mean, we laughed, but I mean, I checked out the math. No, it works out. And they were like, yeah, well, it does feel like that because we never really thought that we would move completely. We thought moving forward. And so 2 years forward, they just got a mortgage and bought a house.
What's it like to be someone who's took another step away from the familiar? You think you're so invested in this adult life, in the area that you're in, with the friends that you've got and the property that you've got or whatever it is. What would you say to me if you were talking to me or anybody else who's in a similar spot?
Well, I suppose I had steady jobs. I had I had a 401k, I had a pension, I had everything. And I was successful in that career. And so I kind of felt like that was the thing I should do because it was safe. But I never really felt like I was someone who played it safe anyway. And I think what I would say is just because you've always done something doesn't mean you always have to do that. You can apply what you know to other things. Like for me, I was a production director and creative director. That's basically like a producer is someone who just organizes stuff, who figures things out, And so I just kind of took a leap. I come from a pretty entrepreneurial family on my dad's side anyway. So I think maybe it's in the genes, but it was really exciting to just move forward. Every step I took, I was a bit nervous, but I always felt like, well, you know what, even if it fails, I'm always going to get up and do it again. There's nothing really to be afraid of.
You only need one common thing. And when you have one common thing, that could be just a sport in the same club, that starts the conversation before you realize that, hey, aside from that one thing, we actually agree on everything else. There's so much effort to separate people by the powers that be, because that's how they cash in. That's how they keep their power. I've learned that, you meet so many different people. And I think part of this becomes, being an international student. I mean, you come over here, so you can kind of tell, when you see so many different people from so many different backgrounds, we're not that freaking different. And I think when you start the conversation with one common thing, and then you start talking about that before you know what, you talk about different things, I think it becomes a notion that you're like, hey, man, we're not that freaking different. I mean, yeah, you think that and I think this. But still, it shows that you might not politically perfectly align, but as long as you're not the extreme, you're still going to have a lot of common ground. We ultimately want the same thing for our kids, for the next generations and stuff like that.
Have you ever taken something that a guest of yours has said and then applied it directly to your own life?
Yes, I interviewed an expert who's a psychologist in relocating. She helps families and individuals and couples. And in our conversation, she said something to me. She said, the weather inside is the weather outside. Her name is Dr. Veronique Elefantiani. And she said, the weather inside is the weather outside, meaning two things. Before you relocate, you've got to understand what's going on in you. Why are you relocating? Are you moving yourself abroad hoping to have a better life? Because that isn't automatically going to happen because you're taking yourself. You and everything that is in you that's bothering you is traveling with you. Whatever is inside is going to show up wherever you are. But she also said, once you've moved, if you are lonely, and whatever the emotions are you're dealing with internally, it's going to show up externally. So you have to have self-care. You have to have tools and strategies in place to help yourself. Don't turn up and expect everything to be there and work for you.
One of the big points that always seems to come out of the podcast, and I think the people who listen and watch will agree, is this sense of community. That everything, we survive on community. And we also thrive on community as well. And the following guests, Andre Santiago, Eric Hawthorne, Mark McKelvey, all talk about that in these upcoming clips, and just how much a community has been important to them and how it's helped them grow as they've lived in the US.
You know, when you're out there, you're grinding alone most of the time in your life, you deal with like your own self-doubt. You start to question your own person, if that makes any sense. It's not just building about the network. It's also just realizing my authentic self and just being myself rather than having to push on something I'm not. Whereas in the past, I was like, all right, work is my identity, or now I need to like talk a certain way to associate with certain people in Manhattan, you know, when I'm talking to people on the phone at work or stuff like that. Now I'm just Andre from the Bronx who now lives in Jersey City. You know, I'm a grinder, but I'm also can be, you know, I can be X, Y, and Z too. You can be a little bit of everything. This group made me realize who I am, which I think is important because now I can just be myself and I don't need to be anyone else.
We've got friends who are struggling. We've struggled ourselves at certain points, everyone, right? But why is it important to actually be present?
Someone asked me the other day how long I've known, and I didn't know. I said it's at least 20 years. And then you start to think about, bloody hell, you know, Gary is like, I've seen you go through a lot. You've seen me go through a lot, good and bad. And sometimes, you know, in the pace of life, you forget the strength of the connection. You know, and when I spoke to you a couple of weeks ago on the phone, like it was a stark reminder to me. It's like, bloody hell, like, you know, Gary and I go back a long way. I need to be better. And knowing I was coming here made me feel really good about it. And it takes me 2 minutes to be in your company for all that to come back. And I think, to your point, like it can get lost in a WhatsApp group, right? It's funny and it's nice to be in touch, but when you're together, you remember you have this common history together.
What is that community that you've developed through everything and living around here? What's it done for you?
That's my rock. That is my rock. People like yourself, people that I've met, you know, through coaching. It's not necessarily spewing conversations all the time. It's just different, you know, just being with people that you're comfortable with, it helps me. So when you are going through difficult times, you've got people here that, you know, you're not sitting there, you know, feeling lonely, or you've got people around you that just, and they don't even probably know they're doing it, but they're helping you. Just, you know, even doing something like this today with you, I get to see you for a wee bit, you know. Yeah. But I'm being honest. No. It's little thing. I can't say specifically. It's like a comfort blanket, I would probably say. Just the relationships that I've built up here with people that just mean as much to me as, I've probably said this numerous times, but how much my family and friends mean to me back home in Scotland. Same type of relationship.
I forgot McKelvey didn't tell a story about the vodka soda in the Green Rock in Hoboken. It always makes me laugh, but you'll have to listen to the show to get that one in. Couple more clips. Next one's up, you got Mark Simpson from Boostly talking about the importance of saying no to things. And then you've also got myself again a little bit. We did another episode about the why of the podcast and what's it's helped me to do as I've been doing this for 2 years now. So a couple more clips. Stay with us.
The biggest struggle has been now is learning when to say no to things. Because when you first start out, you say yes to everything. But as you grow, the true challenge is to learn what to say no to and what to say yes to, because otherwise you can easily just get yourself burnt out or going down the wrong path. And, you know, but again, I learned this from Tim Ferriss. There's a nice way to say no. I always find by saying, listen, I'm spread really thin at the moment, nobody's going to follow that up and be arsy with you. There's a way to say no, but it's a mad thing. When you learn to say no the right way, it opens up so many better yeses down the line.
I think the one thing it's helped me to do is listen to people a bit more. And it's amazing that I hate that word, amazing. It's very, very interesting to me if you actually listen to people instead of trying. I was a bad gag, me. Like by gag, I mean like trying to get in on the conversation, try and give them my perspective, and not coming from a selfish point, not trying to get my point across and top someone, but just try and show that level of empathy. Mm-hmm. But it comes across sometimes as you're trying to top them. So what I'll do is I'll let people finish, give people 2 more seconds, even after they finish talking. Sometimes give them 2 seconds, because sometimes that 2 seconds, that might be their cue to go, you know what, this person's actually listening to me. I'm going to tell them something else. And that person, in the context of the podcast, that something else might be absolute podcast gold or like listening gold. And you think that's brilliant. Or in a normal day-to-day setting, just having that ability to listen to someone and take a step back might give that person an opportunity to open up to you about something that maybe they're dealing with, they're holding on to, they're struggling with, they don't feel like they can talk to anyone. But if you give people the time of day and listen to them, then there's no reason why they don't open up to you.
It's funny sometimes with the Irish lads, it's hard enough to keep one of them on track, let alone two. But when I had John and Enda on from the North America Irish Coaches Association, it was a good laugh and a lot of fun. But this next clip just shows or explains what their plans are for the future and how they hope that their association will develop to provide resources for coaches in the US.
What's next for the association? What have you got coming up? What's the plan? If I was to come back in 5 years' time and have the same conversation with you, what would we like to have been talking about at that point?
Yeah, so listen, I'm now on the board of United Soccer Coaches as a VP. God only knows why I put myself forward for that.
Good for you, John. Good for you.
Nobody else wanted it.
No, I got a call. And here's to end this point. Here's to end this point. And my point, which I just made, I got a call from Barry Gorman, longtime friend, ex-Penn State guard now, who served on the USC and has continued to be involved in the coaching education and all that stuff. And then Shellis Hyman, another gentleman I met through National Soccer Coaches Association, as I know it. I know it's United Soccer Coaches. Anyway, they said to me, look, John, you're the man, you get in there, you'll sort this out and all this. And I said, to my point earlier, grab the bull by the horns and just go for it. For the association, we just want to be relevant in future developments. We'd love to become a partnership with the FEI and the IFA. We'd love for them to recognise us for what we do here and what we can do and how we can help them. And then obviously, look, they're going to come in and commercialise the shit out of it. So we understand that. That's part of life. That's America. That's why it is what it is. But for them to understand that they have a network across North America of Irish people, didn't ask for a penny, didn't ask for nothing, didn't ask for a tracksuit, didn't ask for a pair of shorts, and nothing. We're just giving back. And I already know, if we feel that we can help and give back, then we'll know our work is done. So we just want to be recognised for that. That's all. So upcoming, we have the convention in January. Some podcasts going to be released soon. We're looking forward to having a successful end of 2025.
And then last but not least, there's always time for a little bit of fun. Obviously, every episode has a quick fire round at the end. Can't get them all in. So I just thought I'd take a couple of them away. We've got Andre. Andre was a cool character and a promising artist in the Jersey City scene. And the conversation went all over the map. Talk a lot about art and his production and what he does. And I really enjoyed the conversation, but this is a little snippet from that. And then obviously Paula Higgins, an old friend from a long time ago, talking about giving away secrets to the magic circle. Let's just put it that way. And then the final little clip is just a compilation of all the little moments through the year that have kept people giggling. Again, thanks so much for listening. Hopefully you can get these last two clips in. Have a great 2026. Hoping to put out plenty more content, plenty more top guests, with plenty more advice, plenty more stories, and hopefully something that you can take a little bit of wherever you are in your journey or wherever you are in the world. Thanks very much for listening, and I'll see you soon. Nice one. Cheers.
Favourite superhero?
Spider-Man.
Okay. Divides opinion. Is Batman a superhero?
So I gotta say he is, because technically I love the athleticism that he has, where he's taking his mind and body to peak performance. So in all actuality, Batman might be the actual true hero that somebody could truly become. Because remember they were talking about that one dude. I don't know, I'm always scouring the internet and I'm reading about this one dude that during because most people can't tell the difference between Gulf War, but there was one guy that went off into and found someone. He went out there like Batman, captured some dude, brought him back over here on some Batman shit, and grabbed the wrong person. They locked his ass up. This motherfucker's out making super. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But he had all the tricks and shit. I gotta find this shit. I remember reading about this dude. He was people who tried to become Batman. He literally did the shit. Remember that whole shit with Christopher Nolan's Skyhook? And this guy did it.
But the magician was awful. He was going through a breakup, I guess. Oh. So he was drinking all the time, forgetting his stuff. He set me on fire. Like, he actually set my hair on fire one night. Well, I had like this fake pony in, but I was in the box and I was like, oh my God, my hair's on fire. It was awful. Anyway, it was fine.
My
He
God.
put it out, but it was an experience.
Can you tell us any secrets, or are you going to get kicked out the magic circle if you...
Well, to be honest, it's hard because every illusion is different, but it's all tricks of the eyes. It's basically what it is. It's still an illusion. You know, they use a lot of black and silver, so everything looks smaller than it is.
Right.
So you can think, oh, well, she's not in there, but I'm in there. Like, even at one time with another magician on the ship, we did this thing called the origami, and it was a table, and it looked like this tin. And then it had like cards all around it, so I'd step in that, and then he'd shut it up into a box, and there was like, he'd put a sword through that way and a sword through that way, and everyone thinks how it would, but I was in the table underneath, kind of thing. And then they'd open it back up, and
You can see the swords or no?
Well, the swords went through my legs, like this way and this way. My knees were up in the box.
Oh, okay. I still don't get it.
One Olympic sport you think you could
I
participate
think
in?
we all know the answer to this. It's archery, innit? It's archery. You all know I'm a qualified archery instructor.
I don't think anybody knew that.
You all know I'm an
I only found that out 2 weeks ago.
NASP archery, qualified archery instructor, archery.
When was the last time you went out with a bow and arrow?
2018. Ask me the last time before that.
Go on.
2013.
So...
Ask me how good I was in 2018. The answer is proper good.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
you
never lose. It's like riding a bike, innit? You never lose it.
You don't. So here's what I want to do. I want to go get a bow and arrow.
Listen, Walmart sells compound bows. Go and get one. I'm telling you. I'll pop your tyres from 100 metres.
What? I want you to pop my tyres from any metres.
Listen, you asked me. Archery. So... Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you or someone you know has a story to share, we'd love to hear from you. Reach out to us via our socials or visit www.crossingthepondpodcast.com to get in touch. Please be sure to subscribe, like, or leave a comment if you can. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Across Pond Podcasting.